Welcome to Forever Unbreakable, everybody. Excited about tonight's guest. I'm always super excited when I get to host a fellow veteran. So tonight I have Josh Arthurs, who now resides in the Nina Menasha, Appleton area, Fox Valley, if you will. And Josh was an 11 Bravo, which is an infantryman in the U.S. Army. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about where you came from and what led you to making the decision to join the U.S. military, Army in particular.
Well, yeah, first, thank you for having me on the show. I grew up in Appleton, born and raised, Grand Chute area. I went to high school, Appleton West, graduated 2004. While I was in, I want to say 10th or 11th grade, I was in a classroom, and I think everyone knows where they were at that point when they saw the 9/11 catastrophe, all that stuff happen. And I made a point that day that I wanted to be part of something and bigger than myself. And I have a lot of family history in the military, Marines, Army, cousins, grandparents. So I made it that decision that day, and throughout the next couple of years, 16, 17, 18 years old, I started to want to do something, and I said I wanted to join the military, and someone said, what do you want to do in the military? I said, I don't know. When I think of the Army or I think of anything in the military, I don't think that they have all these other jobs other than what the military does. You know, they fight wars. So I said, well, I want to go to combat. I want to do all that stuff. So they said, well, we're offering bonuses right now for the infantry. And I said, sign me up. And the rest, I guess, is history, I guess they say.
Yeah, so, I know recruiters love when a guy comes in and says that because it's the lowest. And being AGR at work, you know, I have a recruiter who's 1 or 2 doors down from me. And then when a guy comes in and wants to join the infantry, it's like our favorite thing because they have the lowest ASVAB score, the easiest to get waivers for. Like everything funnels in the infantry because the highest quantity of individuals in the military serve in the infantry. So for them, it's like the easiest enlistment. So your recruiter is probably like all smiles when you walk in the door. He's like, "This is my type of guy."
Yeah, it was pretty easy paperwork. He definitely didn't try to talk me out of it. There was definitely a point in basic where I was mentally talking myself out of it, and I got resituated. But yeah, the recruiters was okay with that. Come to find out, when I got to basic training, a lot of my buddies' battles were getting $20,000 bonuses, and I only got 7. So I was a little irritated at my recruiter for that, but I guess what are you going to do? At least I got something. You know, people were forced to join back in the day or all that stuff. So I was happy to go in, and it was, I can definitely say it was the best 8 years of my life.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I fully agree. So let's talk about your journey through the military.
Sure.
So you did basic training at Fort Benning, AIT at Fort Benning, and then where did you go?
I went to the wonderful country of South Korea, where I spent 3 years doing nothing but drinking.
That's awesome.
We did do some obviously training stuff, but I would say a good portion of it was just me just drinking, partying, and all that stuff. So
how'd that make you like feel having enlisted with that message of like, I want to go to war?
Yep.
And when you go through basic training at AIT, because what year did you go to basic training in?
2004.
So in 2004, they still had the bayonet assault courses probably, and like shit that made you into wanting to be a killer. So you left basic training. Like,
oh yeah, I was ready to go do something. And they're like, "Oh, you're going to South Korea?" Someone said that to me. I don't even know where it was on a map or a globe. I had no idea. I'm like, South Korea, where is that, and why am I going there? But
yeah.
I got there, and then they also said, "Oh, hey, if you stay here for another 2 years, we'll pay you $500 extra a month." It's called Army Incentive Pay. I want to say AIPing.
Okay. So
they were short of people over there, so they were paying people to stay longer. Well, come to find out, about a year and a half down the road, I didn't know. You know, I was just a new private. You can't deploy from Korea.
Yeah. So
I'm sitting there, not, I guess in a way, stuck at this base for 3 years until I got to, you know, a real line unit in Fort Lewis, which is now JBLM. But yeah, I was it was a good time, but I definitely didn't need 3 years of partying. That's for sure. And don't get me wrong, I worked my ass off too, but it was definitely combined with a lot of drinking and a lot of fun nights with a lot of people that I served with. So
That's
for sure.
One of the things I love about the infantry is they live and die by that motto: work hard, play hard.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because you would work super hard all day, typically with a hangover a lot of days.
Yep.
And then, because I can't even count the number of PT tests I took with a buzz or super hungover. But then, like, you would work your ass off all day long, and then, boom, 5 o'clock, shit starts shutting down. Everybody gets their stuff turned in or whatever needs to be done. And then you're immediately, to drinks and dinner somewhere. And then that carries on through the night, and you repeat the next day and the next day and the next day. It's one of the things that, like, I look back and I'm like, damn, how did I survive those years? Like,
yeah, I don't know, but I agree. We work hard, play hard. The first night they still allowed, I don't know if they do in the military anymore, called hazing.
Yeah.
Kind of introduce you to new things. And I got introduced to doing a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things I found out the next morning, I drank a little too much. I woke up in a bathtub. Luckily, it wasn't full. I was just sitting there. But, to go to have this mentality, like you're saying, and then go over there, I was not ready for it at all. I was ready to go do something other than that. But, it is what it is, and it all worked out in the end. And I met a lot of good people there that I still talk to today. So
yeah,
it was fun.
And that's one of the things too is, like, combat or not, you go through some suffering, and through suffering builds the tightest bonds and the tightest friendships.
For sure, absolutely. So some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life were from that duty station. There's some people that I met on other duty stations, but kind of like your first one, I think it stands out a little more, whether it be at Relax in Jackson or whether it be, at Fort whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people I met there, and I still talk to today, and I wouldn't take anything back for a second.
No, I'm the same way with everywhere that I've been.
Yeah.
So you get transferred to Fort Lewis, second ID then? Yep. Yeah. So strikers, were you in the strikers?
We were
Nice.
we were the first striker brigade to be deployed to Afghanistan. So we're the first mechanized unit over there.
Did they they didn't take the strikers to Afghanistan, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Crazy.
Yep. And then from there I went back over to Washington. I got medically evacuated. I never got directly hit or anything like that. We had a mortar attack happen, and while that was going on, I injured myself and required some surgery. So they sent me to Germany to get reevaluated. Got reevaluated in Germany, and then got sent home for surgery, and then got out shortly after that, within, I'd say, a year or two.
Okay. So were you, like, medically out then, or from the
Right.
surgeries?
So, yeah, here's the thing. So, let's see, what was it? 2009, I was deployed. And then right after that, when I got back, they were medically evaluating me. And it was the time where they were cutting the military
downsize,
down. The downsize. They're all, hey, let's get you to join. Uncle Sam's calling. Let's get you to join.
Bonuses, and then all of a sudden everything's gone, and they're like, you're cut. Where can we trim the fat, so to speak? Like,
where can they trim the
just
fat? Absolutely.
Cutting everybody.
So I actually raised my GT score because they said at first I wasn't going to be physically fit enough to stay in the infantry. And then they also said, well, before you can change MOSs, you have to be physically fit in your own MOS before you can change MOSs. They were just feeding me all kinds of stuff. So I went and I raised my GT score. Not going to say what it was before, but it was above 110 after that. And that's what you need to basically get any job in the military, or at least in the Army. So
110's that magic number.
Yeah, if you get 110, you're good to go. So I did all that, and then shortly after, like I said, they were doing the downsizing, and they handed me a pink slip that I was more of, their explanation quoted is, I was more of a cost to keep than a cost to kick. So they gave me the lovely pink slip, and I had a child on the way, and I said I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that she's medically covered for the rest of her young adult life, because I didn't have plans to get out. I was going to do
The 20.
to 20 at least.
Yeah.
Retiring at 39 after doing 20, serving the country sounded okay to me. Who knows, I might have done 30, but I tell you, 8 years. I mean, there were times where the days were long, but the years go fast.
Dude,
Something
super
I like to say.
fast, man. I'm at
the days are
16
long,
and a
but the
half,
years are
and
fast,
it's
is what I like to say. I don't know why, but all of a sudden it's like 8 years go by, and it's just boom. And so then after that, I got out of the military and kind of was a little confused on what way to go. I tried to do some school, and I was there for a little while, and God, I went to the tech, and I felt like I was back in high school. There was just cliques everywhere.
Fox Valley Tech or?
Yeah, Fox Valley Tech. So I was there for a year and a half, maybe. I did some general studies and some electives that I didn't really have a plan. My plan was the military.
Yeah.
So when I got out, I was kind of trying to find my footing again.
And I think that's the biggest issue for most veterans. Like within HUA, I see it all the time, and like my job as a readiness NCO for a National Guard unit now is what I do Monday through Friday. And one of the biggest things I see the issue with is that exact thing. Like guys who get out voluntarily or involuntarily don't really have a plan because they're so used to the military life and what the military provides. Because in the military, you get, you have like a parental figure essentially.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Of they provide you your clothing. So they clothe you. They put a roof over your head. They make sure you have 3 meals. So like the military life is as complex and complicated as it is at sometimes is really actually very simple. And when people come home and have that transition, like you said, your biggest concern was child on the way, ensuring that there is health care in place for the duration of her childhood.
Oh, right. I mean, you're in the military. They take care of all that for you.
Yeah. You don't ever have to worry. There's no such thing as healthcare bills.
No. And I think people in the military forget about that. They're like, well, I only make this amount of money a year. And I'm like, well, technically.
Factor your benefits
factor
in.
your, you go to the hospital anytime you want for free. You go to the dentist anytime you want for free. I mean,
the benefits are there.
The benefits are there, and you could probably double your salary after, looking at all those benefits and how much you actually use them for sure. But that was absolutely my biggest challenge because I didn't know what to do. And I'm not saying that the military did offer some kind of help stuff too while I was getting out. Now, after I got out, nothing.
Yeah, after you get out,
you get out, if you don't take advantage of that stuff, you're on your own. And don't get me. And I'll say I was a little hard-headed. I'm like, I'm not gonna miss it. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna miss it. I missed it pretty quickly after I got out.
And I'm guessing you still miss it today.
Oh, I miss it every day.
Like it's because it becomes such a part of life, and it's.
Yep. I miss it every day.
It's so much fun and excitement. Like.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I don't care what your job is. You're never going to do the same thing 2 days in a row unless you are an admin stacking ID cards. And even then, you don't know what's going to happen, sometimes. And all those jobs are important, one no more than the other. So, yeah, I miss it. I miss it every day.
And especially in the infantry, like there is something different every single day. And there's like combat engineers and some of those jobs where you're going out to the field and whatever's going on, there's plenty of days that suck where you'll spend a whole day trying to get your weapon clean enough to get it turned in and shit like that. Like there's some days that like are just miserable, but every day is different. And there's no other job that I've found that will provide you that quantity of difference that you get in the military. So like I have 16 and a half years in now, and I'm starting to look at like when I'm eligible for retirement.
Sure.
And all that stuff. And like how much money will I make when I retire? Can I afford to live that way? Do I need to stay in? And like looking at retirement it's an exciting thing, right? Especially being able to retire at the age I'll be able to retire at. But at the same time, it's like, I'm going to miss this. Like I'm going to really miss hanging out with the boys, sleeping in a foxhole, like things that sound miserable and are miserable at times are some of the greatest memories of my life. Have come from that.
Oh, absolutely.
So I can only imagine looking back at 8 years of service is a lot of service to look back on. And you could see it in your eyes when you were talking about things like South Korea hanging out and partying. And you're like, man, What I do to go back to 21 in South Korea.
I was 21 and I got paid on the 15th and I was broke by the 16th, and that was fine. I had a meal card, 3 meals, and I was good to go. Yeah, I miss it every day, and that's the reason that again I've done or tried to do a lot of getting involved with military after I got out, because there is something about talking to another veteran that just flows naturally. I mean, don't get me wrong. Civilians are civilians. I still consider myself a civilian because I'm not technically in the military. But when I'm talking to anybody and I'm having a conversation, it's fine. But when I have a veteran, or when I have a conversation with a veteran, there's a different comfort level, and it's just a different conversation. And a lot of times I'll notice veterans sometimes only want to talk to other veterans in general.
Yeah, it's definitely most common. So like through the charity, I get to meet a lot of cool people, and that's how we met. Was you approached me about how can you help HUA, and how can you be more involved as a veteran within the veteran community, and or from the things that you do now as a civilian, like how can you become a greater impact on the veteran community within your community or within your reach. And so I thought that was super cool, and that evolved into where we are right now, having this podcast. But the one thing that I've learned through working in HUA is, like, I'll sit down with some older veterans, Vietnam, Korea, World War II, and I'll be sitting down having a conversation with them about how we're going to help them moving forward and the service that we're going to provide them as an organization. Be it a rent check, or maybe we're going to put a furnace in their house, or put a flagpole up or something like that. And I'll hear stories that I'll be sitting there with family members, and the veteran will start telling me stories that their family members have never heard in 40 years of listening to stories from them, or a grandkid listening to stories from their grandpa for 30 years, parents 50, 60 years. And they're like, he's never talked about the war or said, more than a small story here, a small story there. They're like, you just sat and bullshitted with him about his experience in war for 2.5, 3 hours. And so I one of the things that I think is cool now that is going around and happening is some people are going around and documenting, some of their stories, because now they're willing to finally share them, and they're making that connection with another veteran who is there to document their story. But if you can't relate, it's hard. And I tell it to people all the time, because in conversation I meet a ton of people, as I know that you do for sure with what we're going to get into here in a minute. But people who are in the same lines of work as you, it's so much easier to conversate with.
Absolutely.
Because you have immediate common ground. Mm-hmm. And that's what a veteran has to another veteran is you can just tell, and you get that warm feeling, and it's like, hey man, let's open up and start sharing some stories. And next thing you know, you're 3 hours deep in conversation, and your wife is like, let's go.
Well, and I think that you're right. It's you have that common ground of an uncommon territory. There's a lot of things that happen between 5 a.m. and 2100 at night, and or 2200, 2300, whatever the time may be. It's just when you can find that common ground of someone that's already been in that shit with you. You already know they've been in the military. It's that much easier to talk about all the stuff, because some of the times the stories that I have, I'm not sure if I should tell anyone. Because I don't know what kind of reaction I'm going to get. Where, is this guy nuts? But I mean, at the same time, when I have someone that's in the military or was in the military, it's almost like, well, here's my story, and then he's like, well, I got one for you, and it'll go back and forth, and just feed off each other like that. So it's again, it's just something that can't be copied. If you're in the military, usually I can tell within a few seconds of talking to someone if they were in the military or if they're not. There's just a certain professionalism standard and just way that I think we talk to each other or get it that just can't be copied by someone that hasn't been in the military.
It's funny, every once and again there's somebody that I think is in the military, and I'll say to him, I'll be like, hey man, what?
No, I've
what
done that
unit-
before, for sure.
What
I've
unit
done
did
that
you serve
before.
with? And they're like, I've never served. And I was like, you got me. Like,
I've done that before. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
So it does happen, but it's more rare.
Right.
And the people that are like that are people that do have a tremendous. What I've learned is they have a tremendous respect for the military
Yep.
and a great appreciation. Like every civilian that is involved with HUA, almost all of them get confused for having served in the military because they have so much appreciation for what our U.S. military does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That they've spent the time to read the books and understand what the military is, and they spend time around it, that they begin to pick up the lingo, the acronyms, the things like that.
Sure.
And next thing you know, you're like, what do you mean you're not a veteran? Or are you what do you mean you've never enlisted? Like, so you're an officer? Like, what do you mean? And I think that's, it's something I have a tremendous amount of respect for is people that have taken the time to understand, another person's job, whether they've done it or not done it. So as we get into the next part here, where we're going to talk about your life after the military, I've done something on a much smaller scale than what you're doing, and I have an even greater respect for what you do, because I know how time-consuming and how sometimes it feels like. Sometimes I think that it was the wrong approach with,
Oh yeah.
with Forever Unbreakable and things like that. So I've learned much in the same through a different means. So let's talk about this. So you go to college for a year and a half, and you're like, this shit isn't for me. Like, this is for the birds. It's not for me. Because I was there myself. I tried to be a college kid, and now I'm trying to be a college kid again. So let's talk about that once.
I think I would have been a better college kid if I was actually motivated to be there.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my passion. It's not what I wanted to do. So I quickly got out of that scene. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but sitting in college wasn't doing it. I was thinking, what can I do?
Yeah, I felt like I was treading water in college. Like, and I'm in college now. But when I was in college, the first and second go around, because this is now I think my fourth go around.
Are you doing it at home?
Yeah, I do.
See, I think I would have been better.
Now.
I think I would have been better if I did it at home. I went to the school.
Yeah, so that's how I did my
was-
first two, and I failed out of college both times. Academic probation, and eventually, like, please stop coming.
Yeah, I took this business class, and it was I don't even know what the point of the class was, but it was just a business class that I thought was interesting. And our final project, we were making some presentation for something, and I failed it. So I thought, well, I'm going to make this presentation kind of funny, because I think I was on the verge of failing anyway. And I don't know, I put a woman on the presentation to catch everyone's eye in a bikini.
Yeah.
And the teacher didn't like it, and
Of course not.
yeah. So yeah, I didn't do very well going to the class whatsoever. I didn't like it, and it just wasn't for me. I wasn't bad in high school, but I didn't like school. I've never been I'm excited to go to school kind of guy. It's just,
Yeah, and in
I
college
haven't.
is different. Because like in high school, it's like you have to be there.
Right. And now you're giving me a choice to go?
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
your
God.
parents are involved in, like, because you're coming home to them and they're like, did you do your homework? Yada, yada, yada. And in college, you get that freedom. And that's why I felt like I was like treading water. Like I wasn't going anywhere because I was loving the extracurriculars outside of college. So I wasn't focused on learning. And I ended up spending all sorts of money on tuition because the Army doesn't pay when you're failing and all sorts of shit. So, because my college was pre-deployment. So, like, now after deployment, you can get in programs that they'll pay even after you fail.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, I did the Montgomery GI Bill, I think it was called. Or
yeah.
whatever that,
And there you had
whatever
to
that
have a
is.
2.0 or you pay the shit back.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I know all too well. They sent me a bill.
Yeah, same. A couple of them, actually.
Yeah, and then I didn't pay those, and then they started just stopping to pay me in general. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, maybe I should pay that then.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But yeah.
So college, obviously, much like for me, it wasn't for you. So what did you decide to do then? Did you just go out and get a job, or what was your next play in life?
So I said, well, what am I good at? What do I do? And I started looking at what I did in the military, and what I did in the military was really physical. So I started looking into personal training degrees. I said, you know what? I want to be active. I don't want to be behind a desk. That's the whole reason I joined the infantry, or one of the big reasons is I can't sit behind a desk. I can't do paperwork, admin stuff. I got to be moving.
Yeah, and you can see that you're in shape, so you still obviously work out to this day.
Yeah, I try and do once a day. I just feel better when I do it.
Yeah, likewise.
I just overall as a person, mentally, physically, I just feel better. So I got a job as a personal trainer at a gym. Got promoted to the fitness manager of the gym.
Nice.
And after a while, I just got stuck in the corporate box of the big box gyms, and I didn't like it. So I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I ended up leaving. After I left that place, then I was really lost. I mean, I was lost before, then I was really lost. I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? I have no idea.
And you have a child that you got to support.
Now I have 2.
Oh, 2 kids at this time. So,
now I have 2.
So you've got to do something,
right?
Because you have to support a family.
Right. So for the time being, a good buddy of mine, a good friend, owns a gym out by in Appleton, and he supported me, gave me a job. I did some training there. I worked behind the desk, picked up as many hours as I could, and just started doing it there. And I actually did like it better because it's a smaller, kind of a garage family type environment versus don't get me wrong, big box gyms have a lot of good equipment, but a lot of the they're not clients, a lot of the people that come in there sometimes, it is what it is, but
yeah, you lack the relationship. Like,
right.
There's a lot to be said about community. When I say it to people all the time.
He's a community gym, so that's what he is. He's involved in the community. He's all that stuff. So
and that grows together. Like, the tighter you build a community around you, the more like family it is, and the more like family something becomes, the stronger the bond within it.
Absolutely.
And it's good for everybody. It builds a stronger mental and physical health. In any job.
It makes you want to come too.
Yeah, in any job or workforce. And that's what I tell people is, when I speak at some of the bigger businesses and things, and they talk about leadership development and how to build a more cohesive team. And I'm like, you gotta build it to be like a family where you want to see, your family member, like you're excited about it. And that's where you start it. And then you get into the coaching and mentoring and making people realize that they're actually horrible coaches,
Right.
And it's the way that we were conditioned. So now you're at basically a much more fitting gym for your personality.
Right. And I'll back up a couple steps. When I originally first got out of the military in 2012, I was starting to notice businesses, police departments, fire departments, whatever it may be, that were displaying the American flag, but they were displaying it improperly, or they were displaying a tattered flag.
Which you see everywhere today. You can't drive.
Nope,
you can't drive.
I challenge anybody out
3
there.
miles.
I challenge everybody
see a
out.
tattered flag.
I challenge everybody out there to try and because no one looks up a lot of times.
Yeah.
They just see a flag and it's there. They don't look up. But if you look at that flag, at most places, usually they're in pretty bad condition. So I started a Facebook page called Old Glory, which right now I have about 61,000 people that are members of. It's just a community page I started to get awareness out there. So what I would do originally is I would go up to whatever place was displaying the flag incorrectly. I would say, hey, your flag's pretty torn. Do you mind taking it down? It is, that's not the way you're supposed to display it. And I usually would give them 2 weeks, and then I give them I'd let them know twice that it isn't the way you're supposed to display it. And then after that, I would take a picture of their flag, I would go to their Facebook page and I would tag their business in it.
Nice. Then you get some quick action.
So the first thing that people see when they go to their Facebook page is a torn flag.
Yeah. Something that basically says you're un-American or you're not doing the right thing as an American.
And so I would give these businesses a couple weeks, to just take it down because it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
So
you're just escalating the force in the way that you should, right? Like one step by the next step by the next step until it's fixed. Because we as Americans that are proud of the flag, which I believe is everybody who listens to this podcast is very proud of the flag, or I'm surprised that you're still listening.
Right.
Because we're all super proud Americans. I am stupid proud to be an American. So my care level for the flag is at a higher level where I notice it all the time.
Absolutely.
So I think it's super awesome that you first approach the business very passively and like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, I would like you to take down the flag. Not asking you to hang a new one. Just take the flag down.
Yep.
Because it's being disrespectful. And I'm sure you even offered to go properly dispose of the flag, for them. Like here's
I mentioned to them where to go. There's VFW places that have, those painted trash cans.
Yep.
Or not trash cans, recycling bins where you can put the flag in and they'll dispose of it for free, and I think, if I remember correctly, they reuse some of the stuff, or at least they use the material so it doesn't go to waste.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started doing that, and eventually I thought, well, that's probably not the best way to create awareness out there is by putting them on blast on Facebook. So how do I try and give back? Because I was still at this point missing the military, as I still am right now in front of you. So I started the Facebook page, and then I started creating just more awareness, like putting pictures up of the flag, information on, maybe how to display the flag, putting pictures up of people in the military that gave their ultimate sacrifice that are no longer here, and, just in general, creating awareness and respect for our country, our flag, and the veterans who, joined to defend it. And it just quickly grew, and all of a sudden it's at 30, 40, 50,000 people. So I said, well, maybe someone out there is telling me something. Maybe I should do something with this other than just put a picture up of a flag or someone that's died for our country. Not to say that's not important, but maybe I can do something even more. Yeah,
because it's super important. So you started with step one is just like raise awareness, and the big thing is like how to display the flag. So I was actually talking to my buddy Jason on, I think it was last week Saturday. We went for a bike ride, and we saw a stupidly and insanely tattered flag, right? Like basically a small little piece of blue cloth left with like
strings.
3 red streamers coming off of it and a white streamer. Basically strings, yeah. And I was like, man, this just makes me so sad that somebody can't, replace the flag. And he's like, I just want to see it taken down. He's like, just stop having it up there. Like, if you don't want to buy a new flag, cool, take it down. And so he started to tell me a story of and I'm probably going to mess up the war that he was in, so we're just going to say that he was a veteran of an older war, Vietnam, Korea, or World War II. I want to say it was World War II, but I don't want to be wrong and discredit this story. But Jason was over there, and I believe the guy was a client of his from Apex Heating and Cooling, and the neighbor across the street had a American flag up that was tattered and torn, and this veteran was complaining about it. Like, I just wish that guy would take the flag down. He doesn't know how to display it. He has no respect for the flag, and we as veterans hold the flag at a stupid high level, right?
Absolutely.
Because to us, it's more than just a piece of cloth. To us, it's the symbolism of the last thing that you wear when you pass away because of the flag draped casket. Like it's got so much meaning, and we could go on and on about the meaning of it. But anyways, so Jason decided to write a letter and just mail it to the neighbor saying, hey, the guy across the street is a super nice guy. He's a a war veteran of such and such a war, and he just really doesn't like the way that you're displaying the flag, but he won't tell you because he's just a super nice guy. So he just grumbles about it to himself,
Right.
but it's really eating him up. So if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor and just take the flag down, you can bring it over to him and he'll dispose of it for you, and he'll handle everything that needs to be handled with it, and he'll be super grateful. And Jason's like, I was over there a week later doing a tune-up or whatever he had to do for the gentleman, and the guy was like, you won't believe what happened. The neighbor brought me the flag, and now he hung up a Packer flag. So he actually, I shouldn't have said that about him. He actually knew how to handle the flag. And Jason just smiled and was like, it's good to see some people still know, the right ways to handle the American flag. And he probably just didn't notice it because of living there. Things become pattern, and you might, not notice that your flag is tattered for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just because you're not, like you said, looking up and paying attention to it. You pull in the same driveway every day. To some people, it begins to lose its meaning, and to other people, you pull in and you see it and immediate smile. So the one thing that I want to challenge, and I know that you absolutely do as well, Josh, I want to challenge everybody who's listening to the podcast, that if you see a flag that is tattered, torn, or improperly displayed, that you go and provide the proper information for how to display the flag. And Josh, on the Facebook page, Old Glory, has those facts. So you can go on there, find those facts, and we'll try and get it out on the Forever Unbreakable stuff as well here soon as a reshare from the Old Glory Facebook page. But make sure that we are helping our neighbors display a prouder, brighter America. All over the United States. It doesn't matter where, but I'm sure you fully agree with that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. When I would approach people to take down the flag because it is tattered and it is disrespectful, lots of them would just ask me why, because lots of them don't even know. They just don't know, and it's some of them get a little, I think, edgy when you question someone. They feel like you're questioning their patriotism as an American. You're questioning them in a way,
which is the last thing you're trying to do.
Which is the last thing I'm trying to do. Yeah.
If anything, I'm trying to help you.
Right, but people sometimes don't, welcome help as much as others. So there's definitely been a few times where I got in some pretty heated conversations with people, but for the most part, I would say a good 95% of people just don't know that it's disrespectful to, not display the flag the right way and to not respect it, honor it, because of what you said as well. The same thing that I say. It's funny that when I listen to you talk, it's like I'm listening to myself sometimes, where
much the same.
it's not just a piece of cloth. It's I like the old saying I think I came up with a long time ago when I first started this Facebook page. Was it's not just a piece of cloth. It represents more than that, especially to veterans, and it should represent that even more to everybody, just as much. It's an important piece of our country that shouldn't be taken lightly and shouldn't be disrespected. And I stand firmly with that, and I'll take that to my grave, because that's how it should be, no matter what country you're in. That is the symbol of your country and your countrymen.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel. Like, I have a tremendous respect for, somebody from Canada who has respect for the Canadian flag.
Absolutely.
Or Mexico for the Mexican flag.
Absolutely.
Or in Iraq, for the Iraqi flag. Like that. That is the flag of their country, the country that they were born into, a country that they grew up in with an understanding and love and compassion and care for that country. And so there should be a greater level of respect for it. And that's why I lose my mind, and my wife has to deal with it, and she fully agrees with me, but like sometimes I'll just start, yelling at my phone, basically. Like, man, if I was in that, I would knock you out, because of when you see people burn the flag in the streets or trample on it. I'm like, you have no fucking idea what that flag truly symbolizes. Like, I get
It's not a decoration, it's a symbol.
Exactly. And I get in a sense, I understand the need to create awareness about certain things, right? Like, I understand that if you are truly in a minority race and you are oppressed and you come from, a less fortunate situation, or even white coming from a less fortunate situation than I was born into, I get it that, we need to do more in our poorer, less fortunate communities like Detroit and things like that, Flint, Michigan, like we can do more there to provide a better place. But using the flag for that purpose to like create that awareness, to me doesn't really make sense. And if it does, this is the one thing that I said about Kaepernick when he first started it. I was like, great, you have my attention. Now do something with it. And then nothing was done but taking another knee and another knee and another knee. And I was like, now it's pointless.
Right.
Like when you got my attention, you had the opportunity to capitalize on it. And had you have capitalized on that opportunity, I would have had a tremendous amount of respect for Kaepernick. But the fact that like you're going to do something to create a bunch of attention, right? Like a ton of attention, but then not do anything with it. Because I'm fine. If you need to do something, like take a knee for the American flag to create a ton of attention so that you can put out a super important message, and then the next week you're standing in full respect of it again. Cool, man. I have a tremendous amount of respect for getting people's attention and then executing the plan. He had no plan.
Right.
Which is why he's still taking a knee.
And I don't argue the right of people protesting. They can do that, but
absolutely freedom of speech. It's what we went and
freedom
fought
of
for.
speech. It's what we fought for. And I'm not discrediting their right to do that. I do think that it can be done on a different platform. I also
with some respect.
I also, yeah, absolutely. I think that those people that are doing that, actually, it's funny, we brought this up. I actually put a video on Respect the Flag Apparel's Facebook page and Old Glory where I address this a little bit. And I think the biggest issue is the people that take a knee have never been a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah. Because
when you're standing for the flag, the national anthem, or whatever it may be, you're standing for something other than yourself. And so, I understand that they have the right to do what they would like to do when that anthem is on or when the flag is displayed. They can do what they want to do. Just know that the people that are standing care about that stuff too.
Yeah.
But that is the time for our country to stand as one, to give respect for not just our flag and our military, but everybody. That's why we're standing together.
Yeah, all Americans.
The military is a big percentage and part of that, and so is our flag and our country. I mean, that is where we're born. It is the USA. It's America. I mean, if you don't want to back that, and it seems nowadays everybody wants to find something to complain about. And as soon as that problem's fixed, you know what they're doing the next day? They're finding something else to complain about.
Exactly.
And that just, it seems like a never-ending cycle. Well, now that issue's fixed, let me go see what else I can complain about, see what else I can find an issue with, and try and get people to look at me. Because the NFL, just like any other major sports, it highlights your it highlights your physical attributes, not your moral character.
Correct.
So,
which we're seeing now,
right?
Very, very heavily. Is like, what are people's moral character, and are you just a follower and going to follow what your buddy is doing or what the team captain is doing, or are you going to stand for what you believe in, or in some people's cases kneel for what they believe in, but doing it. I just think my thing, and this is what
it's
we're
becoming a trend.
Yeah.
Not
people doing it because it's the right thing. And what bothers me is when I see people do it that I know are not or never came from the oppression.
Right. Like the lady that was on the district board.
Yeah.
Some random white lady in Kentucky, Kansas, I don't know where she's from. She's on the board, and she gets up as the board is about to begin, and before the board begins, every time they do the Pledge of Allegiance, everyone stands up, puts their hands over her heart. She gets on one knee, has to use the table to help her because she's never been on her knees before, apparently.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just...
And she was well off. She was well off her entire life. And
absolutely.
Like, and she's not married to somebody who came from oppression.
Nope.
I'm certain that she hasn't, ever gone and lived in that scenario. There's NFL players that I do believe have every right to, stand up for the oppression type piece in the black community because they grew up in a very, very poor neighborhood and they fought, and eventually made it to the NFL or whatever sport they're in, or whatever they're doing, right? They fought their life off to get out of there, and they know what needs to go back there. And those are the NFL players that you see giving millions of dollars of their paycheck back to those communities to bring up the education level in those communities, provide equipment so that they can, work out and train to the same level of the person who gets, into the private high school is getting provided all these extra amenities.
Right.
And so... yeah, I fully agree that there needs to be, it needs to be looked at and we need to make some adjustments as a country. But we do that by standing together and fighting that fight together as a nation. And civilian, military, it doesn't matter, and that's why your second, Facebook page and company was born, which is called Respect the Flag Apparel. Like,
correct.
And that's exactly what it's about is just respect the flag. Take it down when it's tattered. Replace it with a new one. And if you can't maintain the colors, by colors for if those of you that don't know, it means the flag, the U.S. flag or whatever. We sometimes call it the colors. If you can't maintain the flag, then don't fly the American flag. Fly a Packer flag or a Patriots flag or whatever team you cheer for. Or if you're a hockey fan, fly a Penguins flag
sure.
or whatever.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to do something with the American flag, respect it, fold it properly, display it properly, be proud of it because it's what allows us the freedoms that we have. And so I think it's super cool that you took what you started with, Old Glory, and figured out that hey, there's a second piece to this, and now I can raise awareness over here as well.
Right. And at the time, I don't even know. You can't trademark Old Glory. It just can't. It's just...
yeah, I'm sure not. I couldn't imagine trying to trademark Old Glory.
You know what I mean? There's so much stuff, So I was sitting down with my girlfriend one night, and, she's like, well, what do you want to call it? And I didn't know. I didn't think about it. 2 seconds came out of my mouth. I said, why don't I call it Respect the Flag? Because that was the whole point of why I started anything. When I started Old Glory, when I started just noticing flags in general. And I said, I want to call it Respect the Flag Apparel. And ever since then, I was able to trademark it, which is now in the works. It's trademarked.
Nice, good for you.
It's trademarked, so no one else will be able to use Respect the Flag Apparel.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. That's a huge step as a company because I'm learning because of starting Forever Unbreakable. I'm learning all about getting an LLC and like trying to trademark things and
sure.
copyrights and all sorts of stuff.
What I was worried about is someone taking it from under me.
Yeah.
Because no one has Respect the Flag Apparel trademarked, and I said I want to trademark my logo. I want to trademark Respect the Flag. I want to try to trademark RTF Apparel. So when someone has that come up on wherever it comes up at, I'm the only one that can use that. And then I also wanted to make sure I'm not going to get in trouble if it was trademarked. And I started selling some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other side.
Promoting the stuff. I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the other side of it is like as soon as you create something, if somebody else has it, they can sue you if you're not first in the space. And by first in the space, you have to own the space completely through the legal side of things, which is going out and getting the trademark and spending the money on a lawyer and all that stuff.
Yep. And the people are really, really serious about obviously trademark infringement and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's insane.
A while back, I haven't been there in years, but at Grumpy's Bar in Appleton.
Okay, yeah.
They actually had the grumpy character from the Disney movie Snow White.
Oh, and Disney is huge about their trademarks.
2 weeks later, they got a
copyrights.
letter and said, you need to take it down or we're going to sue you.
Yeah, Disney is
And they took it down.
massive about
I don't know how they found it. And it's just, Appleton, Wisconsin. It doesn't matter where you are. You got to, I think, really do your due diligence when you're selling a product.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not stepping on anyone else's toes. Because, I mean, for good reason, those people that toes you are stepping on are going to take their feet out from under them real quick. So, yeah, I started that Respect the Flag Apparel company. And not only to promote awareness and respect for our country, our flag, and everyone who served under our flag, as well as I give portions of my proceeds back to Mission 22, something that I didn't have to do, but I also wanted to get involved as well. So Mission 22 is a nonprofit organization that gives veterans a chance to overcome their depression, anxiety, that are thinking about taking their own lives. And I'm sure
Yep. Yeah, it's
along with Fourth HUA and the HUA organization, I think the number is still over 20 a day, which is, you sit down and think about 20 people not being there tomorrow that just feel like they can't and don't know where else to turn. It's a big number.
Yeah, it's a huge number.
I had no idea that it was even an issue. When I was in the military, it was at least 22 for a good couple years. I know when I was in, and I didn't even know it existed. You don't hear the VA talk about it. They don't want to, because the VA is, understaffed and overbooked themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And they
push,
already have a horrible reputation. So the last thing they want...
And they push pills big time.
The last thing they want is to continue making a worse reputation. And they're like... I look at the VA like a fast food chain, right? Like, roll in, get some shit, roll out.
Yep, absolutely.
It's like, and no fault to the people that work inside the VA.
And there are some good people that work inside the VA. There's just like,
I think the majority of them are great people.
Right. There are just layers in the VA that they can't get through. I mean, you open one door for an issue, and then there's 20 other doors.
Yep.
And then you open another door, and there's another 10 doors. And you open another door, and it goes and it goes. So there's just layers and layers and layers to the VA. And, you want to get something done. And I said, well, it took me about a year to get it done. And someone I was talking to a while ago kind of laughed, like thought I was joking. I'm like, no, it takes... I don't think I've ever had the VA do something for me and had them take at least 6 months to a year, maybe, and sometimes more.
Yeah, no, it's insane how long the VA takes.
Right.
It causes depression.
Right.
Because of how long it takes. Just, and like I said, no fault to the people at the VA.
A lot of great people that work there.
Tons of great people. By far the majority. It's just the way the system is. Mm-hmm. And I don't know anybody who's going to be able to step in and correct it, because it's so entrenched, that system.
I don't know how you can get out of that. And I think that's why HUA and other organizations have...
Yeah, Mission 22, HUA, and there's a few other organizations out there that are doing the right things and are pushing to see progress and effects and have this number get reduced. And that's where you're seeing the big gains, is it's veterans and civilians standing up for other veterans.
And that's why the number, I think, went down. I think it was over 22 the last fiscal year, and now it is
right now
20.6,
yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Right now they're reporting in the 20s.
Right.
So
the last report I saw was 20.6 from the DOD.
So it's getting better.
Right.
Still, it's still horrible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, 10 a day is bad. 1 a day is bad, obviously. But to hear the number 20, I think a lot of people don't even believe it, is because it's a statistical anomaly. It's just like 20 people a day. And people don't get that perspective. You put 20 people standing in front of you and have them all lay on the ground, take a picture, and look at that. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's insane. So here's what I want to talk about too then, right? So you're giving a portion of your proceeds away.
Correct.
To Mission for 22 nonprofit, right? But how many years have you had Respect the Flag apparel?
About 2 months.
Yeah, so that's...
I just launched it in June, so it's new. I mean, now before that, I'd say I was working on what to do for maybe 6 months or so. But yeah, I've only been basically selling my products and had a website and had it launch June of 2018 this year.
So let's talk about that once, right? So you decide that, hey, I'm going to give money back to a nonprofit before I'm even making money. Most companies are like, I'm going to start making some money, and then I'll figure out what I can give. So it's a big move to, give money from day one. But I think it's important, that you're doing it from day one, because it says a lot about the character, like your personal character as an individual and your moral compass. Because it's like, hey, I'm making charity a priority. I'm making my giving back to my community a priority.
Well, veterans' lives, are my priority as far as, I got out. I didn't get shot in the war. I didn't have a leg blown off. So there has to be a reason for that, and I'm not going to let my time here go wasted.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe, it's funny. I tell people online, on Old Glory on my Facebook page, on Respect the Flag Apparel's Facebook page, that I'm donating 10%, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe the negative feedback I get. More so than positive, not more so than positive comments, but there's just an unbelievable amount of people that say, well, you're putting the flag on a shirt, you're disrespecting it. You're not supposed to do that. You're giving money to Mission 22. How much are you giving to them? And, oh, that's not enough, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there like just thinking, number one, how much money do you give of your every week or 2 week salary to any organization?
Yeah.
And put it for the public eye to see. Number two, I couldn't be prouder of, if I'm going to wear some clothing, to wear clothing that represents my country.
Yeah.
And, people will say, oh, the U.S. flag code, and they get it very, very confused. You're not supposed to use the American flag for curtains, shorts, drapes, whatever you want, a cape,
Yeah.
being Mr. America, whatever you want. Putting the flag, even though there is a U.S. code, I think that does mention it, putting the flag on clothing is not, as far as I know, I've ever been an issue with anybody. And I couldn't imagine anyone that wouldn't want to wear something that doesn't speak proudly and loudly of their country.
Yeah, and to be more clear about that, when they, from what I understand, they're talking about turning the actual flag
yes,
into a T-shirt, a pair of shorts. This is very different than silk screening on an American flag, because we looked at it as well with HUA, because we print the flag on our charity clothing that we sell as a charity organization, where all of the money stays within HUA because it's HUA clothing produced by them.
Right.
But we obviously put an American flag on it as a veterans nonprofit. And we looked into, what does the actual verbiage say? And to my memory and understanding of it, and maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong with my flag etiquette ever, I hope that somebody immediately comes and tells me so that I can fix myself. Because I will gladly fix myself, but much like you were saying before, you only know what you know. And if the majority of people don't know what right is, for those of you guys listening, go out and help educate other people, and that will have that ripple effect. And eventually, maybe someday we'll be able to drive down the road and not see a tattered flag.
And you know what? If someone came to me, and I've had people highlight the U.S. flag code, you're not supposed to use it as a ploy for a business. You're not supposed to, I think it does say not supposed to use for apparel. From my understanding that I read it as, you're not supposed to use the actual flag. Now, and if it does say, if someone says it does say apparel or whatever that may be, there's just, there's a certain point where you have to think, are you just complaining to complain, or are you actually trying to do something? Because 99% of the people that say that to me, I think aren't
internet trolls.
Right.
Internet trolls.
There aren't the people that I hang around anyway. They go on Facebook or Instagram, wherever they go, and they look, just like we were talking about before, about people just looking for stuff to complain about. That's what they do. They look and try to correct people, or not even correct, just point something out. And
you got to laugh it off, which I think gets into I think this is a perfect segue into the two important questions, because stuff like that, where you're putting your heart and soul, care and compassion, and everything you got into it, right? Because to start a business, you put everything you have into it, or you won't be successful. And I know, because we sell a couple of T-shirts here through Forever Unbreakable, and it's a headache.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not just buying a shirt, putting something on it, and pushing out the door. There's a lot of stuff that is
you
between
get
those
samples
lines.
and you test the product.
Got to get the proofs, and there's a lot of stuff involved to printing an image on a shirt, more than just printing.
And then
an image
getting
on a
it
shirt.
shipped to the consumer.
Right.
But so you get all these internet trolls, and in life you've had plenty of things, from jobs that you've disliked to, being served the pink slip from the military, and now internet trolls. Like, what makes you unbreakable? Like, how do you define yourself as an unbreakable person who's here today, smiling, laughing about past experiences, and pushing forward and pushing the envelope forward by trying to start a business from nothing? Like, what makes you unbreakable?
So I guess what makes me unbreakable, I thought about this question when you first asked me to think about it, and I really couldn't come up with an answer other than the answer that I have of the reason that I came back from Afghanistan. I wasn't taken down in Afghanistan. I survived, So when I think, I'll tell you a quick story real quick. The thing that resonates in my mind every day. This is an image that I think of every single day, probably on a almost couple hour basis. It's just something will bring it up and it happens. So I was medically evacuated from Afghanistan. I was on a C-130 on a flight to Germany, and I started having people basically push pills in my mouth as soon as I was injured. And as I was on that plane, I was in and out, but I woke up, and there was a person to my right who was attached to probably 30 to 40 different wires. They were missing their entire body from their waist down. There's a couple people around them, obviously, and there was a chaplain that was on the plane as well. And I saw the chaplain started to walk away, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, I asked that chaplain, that minister. Chaplain is for everyone's list, chaplain is basically a minister that works in the military. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know why I asked him, but I said, "Hey, where's he going? And is he going to be okay?" And he said that he got hurt in Afghanistan and he's on his way to Germany, and he's on life support long enough so his family can come to Germany, fly there, say goodbye while he's still breathing, and then they're going to pull the plug. And that right there gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps. I'm sure everybody listening just got goosebumps.
So that right there, that image in my head, the people that didn't make it back from war, that paid the ultimate sacrifice, that can no longer speak, I have to be unbreakable because I have to be their voice. I have to be the reason that that I'm doing what I'm doing for them. Don't get me wrong, I make a profit from this stuff, but what I really enjoy is when I can reach someone and I can look into their eyes and I know that I reach somebody, whether I'm talking to a room of 100 people and I reach one, or whether I'm talking to a room of 3 people and I reach all of them. That image to me is stuck in my mind. I think about it every morning. I think about it every night. I think it throughout the day. Because there's a reason that image happened, and I see it all the time, even more clear than when I talk about it. But that right there is the reason that I guess I would define myself as unbreakable, because if I can see that every day and produce something positive from that, then there has to be a reason for that. And I hope to inspire and get them as much awareness out there for people that pay the ultimate sacrifice, and that people that are going to continue to do that as well without any regard for themselves or anyone else.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. Like, being able to carry the voice, for those people. And that's I'm still thinking about that, and the chills,
and honestly, when that happened, I felt nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was like, oh my God, that is insane. But inside I kind of just felt nothing. I think it was such a shock to me for him to just openly say that, and I think his family is just flying thousands of miles just to say goodbye to him before they take him off life support and pull the plug. And I'm like, God, I mean, how do you even get on a plane as a family member knowing that's what you're walking into? Most scariest environment, imaginable would be walking into a hospital room and seeing someone you love or are related to at a point where you can't help them.
Yeah.
So again, I think my reason for me being unbreakable is I see that image every day. I see it when I wake up. I see it when I go to bed. And I think that is a reminder that I need to do something to make sure that their cause and their life that they've given for the country doesn't go unjust, and that I can speak loudly about that for them, that they can't speak because they can't speak anymore, obviously.
It's awesome that like fuels your fire. It's
what I use when I work out.
Yeah.
Besides images of my kids, obviously. But that's what I use when I work out.
Motivator to just like.
That's what I use when I
strive to be better every day.
Absolutely.
So, the last question then that I have for you, you've done the military, you've coached in gyms, you've done some college, started a huge Facebook page, that is essentially I would put in the viral category, right?
Sure.
And now you're starting your own company. Like, so what's next now? Like, now what's your next plan, or what do you got in the pipe?
Sure. So when I started this company, I didn't realize how many different ways that I can get the word out. My whole objective is to create awareness and give people that proper respect, again, that are having issues or are going to have issues, or people that have paid the ultimate sacrifice, or people that are going to continue to do that. So what is next for me? I think what's next for me is I just want to keep branching out to people like yourself that are getting involved with veterans and the community locally, and hopefully be able to get myself out there even more nationally to have people understand why I started this company, Respect the Flag Apparel, and what it actually means to respect the flag. And like we said before, it is not a piece of cloth. It's a symbol. And if there's thousands of millions of people that don't understand that. And so I guess until every one of those people are understanding of that saying, that it is a symbol, not a piece of cloth, and it represents a lot more than you think, then my job is never going to be done.
No,
and I hope to, even whether it be at the grocery store, the bank, wherever it may be, I'll have conversations with people every now and then, and they'll ask me some questions about the flag, and I try and be as knowledgeable as possible about it. And that's my next step, is to create awareness to the people that are in the military, were in the military, or are going to be in the military, because they deserve more respect than anyone else. They're the reason that we're able to do what we're doing right now. And if people don't understand that, then I'll continue to try and educate them.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome mission, and it's a mission that more people than just yourself need to take. And maybe they don't need to take it as their primary mission in life, but they need to be more cognizant and aware of it, and help others understand the importance of the flag, so that we can come together as a nation, and stand and respect the flag the way that it was meant to be respected.
Absolutely.
So I think that's awesome, man. You got anything else you want to put out? Otherwise, I really want to thank you for coming on. I think this was great. I'm going to provide a couple of resources during the video to get you guys the links to both the Old Glory Facebook page, the Respect the Flag Apparel Facebook page and website and things like that. But also,
I tried to keep it pretty simple. Everything is, if you go www.rtfapparel.com, simple is my thing. I try and be as simple as possible with stuff like that, because if it gets too complicated, I'll lose my mind. So
no, I'm the same way. So I'll have some of those links throughout the video. They'll come up. And then if you have questions, just reach out to Josh. He'll square you away. And I'm also going to try and get some of the guidance up on here for how to actually respect the flag. If I can figure it out. My editing skills aren't all that good, as some of you people have noticed. So we'll do what we can, but it's important to get that message out. So thanks for coming on, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I
Really
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Remember to stay unbreakable, and please go out and help people have a greater respect for the flag. Thanks, everybody. We're out.